Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for attending our webinar. We are recording this and we'll post it on the Maine Department of Labor's YouTube page afterwards. Celebrating National Apprenticeship Week, please add your questions to the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. We will reserve those for the panel discussion at the end. We have a great group of speakers here to talk about the apprenticeship programs and how the Maine Apprenticeship Program is enhancing their business. I am Wendy Kostenbauer, the Grant Program Manager, and my sidekick over here is Christine McAllister. She will be monitoring all the questions that come in, and she is our Labor Program Specialist with the Maine Apprenticeship Program. I would like to introduce you to our three panelists today. Dr. Scott Christman is the Program Manager of the Trade, Training, and Apprenticeship at General Dynamics Bath Iron Works. Derek Fassett is the Director of Education and Workforce Development at the Hospitality Maine Education Foundation. And David Dorr is the Director of the Somerset Career and Technical Center in Skowhegan. Each of our speakers will have a 10-minute overview of their programs. Following the individual presentation, we will then spend at the last 15 to 20 minutes for a panel discussion. Enter any questions you have in the Q&A box at the bottom and at any point in this discussion, and we will answer as many as we can during our panel discussion. Our first panelist is from General Dynamics Bath Iron Works. They offer apprenticeships in 20 different occupations as well as pre-apprenticeship opportunity through Southern Maine Community College. BIW apprentices earn while they learn and gain the pride that comes with building ships for the United States Navy. Since 1950, the BIW Apprenticeship School has produced over 1,200 graduates, and at this time, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Scott Christman.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. I'm Scott Christman. I head the program, the Apprentice School at Bath Iron Works, and I'll give a quick little overview of it. So first, we are driven by three components. We sort of feel it's academics, craft training, and extracurricular activities. And we call that our ACE model. And we offer apprenticeships in 4,000-hour chunks. The first 4,000 hours is pretty unique. So go to the next slide, please. But as far as academics goes, of that three-prong focus, the students take the related instruction. They actually get an associate's degree from Maine Maritime Academy. So, and we pay all the tuition, all the books and fees. There's their coursework they take. You can see it's an engineering technology degree that they get. It's an associate's degree, but it's an AS degree, so it does translate right into a bachelor's program if they need it to. So the first 2 years, or 4,000-hour block, we call our basic program. That's where students come in. I'll explain in the craft training area. They come in the first 2 years and they take those academic courses. Mathematics 1 and 2 is pretty much trigonometry and pre-calculus is what that translates to. And then they take drafting 1 and 2, introduction to computers, and some specific courses in shipbuilding. So if they finish the first 4,000 hours, they can apply for the advanced programs. Academically, they will finish out the associate's degree. So that's kind of the way, the model. If you could go to the next slide, I'm going to talk about craft training. I just talked about academics, and that's how we satisfy our related instruction component of the apprenticeship. But as far as craft goes, everybody comes to the basic program usually as a trade worker. So either as a carpenter or an electrician, a painter. And once they finish that 2-year, 4,000 hours, then they can apply for the advanced 2 years, it's an additional 2 years in another occupation. And we hope they do, because we really need planners and purchasing agents and cost analysts, but we need them to have deck plate experience. We need them to come from the front line. So that's what we're doing. We're feeding those advanced programs. Now, if an individual wants to stay with their tools and stay a crafts person, they are certainly welcome to do so. But most of the people that we get into the program, they want to be an engineer. They want to be the next vice president of the company, to tell you the truth. And they're well on their way to do so, as you'll see later. So that's kind of our model. It's really, we hope it's a 4-year experience, but the first 2 years is spent in a craft or a trade. The second 2 years is spent in a professional environment, we hope. So go to the next slide. So the third component, last component that drives our school is extracurricular activities. And we do think this is pretty vital to the development of the student. And if you could go to the next slide, I have its own slide for this one. It's kind of important to me. It's I'm kind of passionate about it. But we've got a student government, just like a student senate, just like everyone else does inside a post-secondary educational component, program. So we've got executive officers, a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer that guide all of student activities. And we really want to participate in things like Habitat for Humanity and those things. But we also are stepping into the arena of student organizations like JCs and Society of Manufacturing Engineers and so forth, SNAME. But the second area of extracurricular activities is our athletic programs. And we do have, golf, track and field, wrestling, and we hope to bring on men's and women's basketball. But we specifically compete on the Division III level in college in wrestling. And we've got one heck of a mean wrestling team. We wrestle UConn and Maine Maritime Academy, or, everybody, if you will. There's 133 colleges in our division, and we usually win 3/4 of the time. We got some really good Maine wrestlers. So go to the next to the last slide. So that kind of wraps up the apprentice school, if you will. Academically, they get an associate's degree in engineering. Craft training wise, they spend the first 2 years as a tradesperson, then they advance up into a professional environment like even supervision or design. And then thirdly, we do have a student extracurricular activities. And that, just to let you know, a few little stats about the program. We've got about 100 students in this capacity, maybe between 80 and 100, I guess. And our statistics on females have dropped a little bit lately. We're at about 10% female. 3% minority, but that's, to tell you the truth, the reason our numbers are low is because many of the females get promoted really quick. If they serve in a manufacturing environment and they've got the education, they're gone quick. They're used throughout the company. But another interesting, classes are taught, as I talked about, on the clock. So students get hired by Bath Iron Works. From day one, they are legitimate employees. Their pay starts at about $24.50 an hour, and they could graduate after the 4-year mark at $75,000 a year. That's about what we're paying our salaried advanced graduates. So they go to school on the clock. They work 5 days a week. 4 days a week is spent on the job, adding value to the product. And the 1 day a week is spent in the college classroom getting that academic curriculum. So average profile of the candidate getting in, most people already have a bachelor's degree. 4 or 5 of them, 25%, well, maybe 10% of them will have a degree in something like mechanical engineering. It's really a professional development program. It's not really a trade. It's not fair to say it's a trade only apprenticeship. But I'll go to my last slide and wrap up by, y'all will go to my last slide, wrap up by talking about a second apprenticeship sponsor that I kind of represent as well. So you're getting two two presentations for one. But there's the Southern Maine Community College Apprenticeship Program that we're partnered with. This is actually a pre-apprenticeship opportunity, and this is a trade-related program. This is a one-year apprenticeship program that Southern Maine Community College registered, with Bath Iron Works being the employer component to the program. They offer 3-week training programs at the Brunswick campus and they teach straight for 3 weeks, 5 days a week, 8 to 4. It ends up being 120 hours of the learner's time, but it's free to the learner. And then also the learner gets paid $500 a week to go through it. All right. So the first 3 weeks, they're not employed, but they're taking that 3-week training program from Southern Maine Community College. If and when, and we go in at the end of that course, and because we do help fund that class, we interview everybody at the end of that course, and we hire everybody we can out of it. So once they get hired, SMCC registers the trainee as a full-fledged 1-year apprentice with the state of Maine. So it is a program that they have sponsored. And while they're working for Bath Iron Works, I track their time. Once they reach 2,000 hours and reach the competencies, then SMCC and the state graduate them with a certificate of completion of a manufacturing technician apprenticeship. So that's my 2 programs that I can talk to. I'll go for now. If there's any questions, maybe we wait till the end, but that's it. I'm Scott Crispin. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Crispin. We appreciate your input with that. It looks like you are doing great things over there. Moving into our second panelist is Hospitality Maine, which has approximately 1,400 members, and all members have full access to work with Derek and his staff to develop and implement apprenticeship programming. They're working to connect partners that represent various labor pools for their members to create pipelines into the industry. I introduce you to Derek Fassett with Hospitality Maine.
Good morning and thank you. So hospitality industry is one of the largest sectors in Maine, and it not only represents a big chunk of the Maine economy, but also a huge portion of our state identity, being vacation land. And in order to help combat the issues that we've all been facing in the labor market these days, about a year ago, they approved our strategic plan, and these 7 bullets represent what that plan was. So it's called Dirigo Hospitality 2025, and it outlines and includes what you would expect to see in most comprehensive strategic plans that deal with workforce, right down to developing a stronger team here on site. Next slide, please. So as Wendy indicated, we are trying to create partnerships to create pipelines into the industry. And the way we're looking at this is, if we can create enough partnerships and develop enough pipelines into the industry, then we'll have a robust pathway through into the hospitality sector and straight up across the career pathway. And these represent some of the partners that we've developed. So we not only deal with the community college system and the public systems to hit college level folks, but we go all the way down into the high schools with JMG, Junior Achievement, Learning Works, and then various agencies across the state to hit populations of focus. So for example, the Department of Corrections to try to get justice involved individuals into the labor pool, Maine Medical and the Department of Labor for Bureau of Rehab Services to help represent those with disabilities, the adult ed offices across the state that are trying to work for English language learning, and they're branching out into industry focused English language learning. And then Workforce Solutions is an example of one of the contracted supporters of the WIOA funding throughout the state, and they represent the coastal counties, which is one of the biggest areas of the state, of course. So if we can get all of these partners to connect with our 1,400 members, then that will help to support their hiring needs. Next slide, please. So here are the 10 different programs that we have. We have 2 primary tracks, one for culinary and one for lodging. That can take somebody from frontline worker all the way up into the managerial level. And then part of that 1,400 members is not just culinary and lodging. We have an allied member category that are other industries and other businesses that help to support our industry, and they need everything across the board. So we have equipment manufacturers, we have financial institutions, we have lawyers, and in some cases they need programs of their own. So we have an events planner, we have an accounting technician program. This certified workforce development professional, part of the grant that we recently received from the Department of Labor in the apprenticeship office, is allowing us to hire additional staff here at Hospitality Maine to try to make all of this happen. And they themselves will become apprentices. They're going to be taking that certified workforce development professional 1-year apprenticeship program and come out with a certification at the end, so that we are not just talking it, but we're walking the walk as well. Next slide, please. So this is what we're envisioning that it'll look like. All those partner agencies will essentially provide job seeker entry points and can act as pre-apprenticeship locations because of the training that they are already providing. And because they're hopefully going to become pre-apprentices, the students that are in those programs, they can shorten their programs if they actually manage to go all the way through and enroll into an apprenticeship. The full registered apprenticeship encourages you to offer time for training and experience that somebody already has when they get enrolled. So ideally, all these partner locations will become pre-apprenticeship sites. And those students that are coming out will have an opportunity to engage with our members around about step 3 here, so that we can get the students in front of the employers. And those employers can do everything from on-site interviews to on-site hiring. And then ideally, any student that then gets hired can move straight into an apprenticeship and continue on a full career track. If the employer has the capacity and the bandwidth, then it can take somebody all the way from that entry level straight through to managerial level. Next slide. So one of the other initiatives that we're working with is we partnered up with the Maine Tourism Association, and they've piloted the Maine Career Coalition, which is a combination of all these associations here, in an attempt to also increase throughput into not just programs, but tourism jobs across the state. So if you're a member of any of these associations, you can get a discount on this job board, which has got a couple perks that are unique, in that it is industry focused to hospitality and tourism, and it's also geographically focused to Maine only. So the goal here is that we hope to be able to post jobs, not just as your traditional job posting of I need somebody with these credentials and this much time experience, but also as an apprenticeable role, so that somebody looking at the job posting can say, hey, you know what, I don't need to know everything. They're going to help train me up into this role. And that way they hopefully can increase their labor pool by indicating that it's not necessarily the traditional experience and training that somebody needs, but interest and aptitude. And when you start looking at interest and aptitude, you can greatly increase your labor pool. Next slide, please. Part of the grant that we received is also going to help us get the message out there. So in hospitality sector specifically, there's a lot of stigmas that we need to help overcome, like people traditionally thinking that the hospitality jobs might simply be something that helps you get through the summer, or is a dead end, you know, you're going to be a dishwasher for the next 20 years. 90% of the people that are at the top in the hospitality field started somewhere at the front line. And if we can share those stories and help promote the industry outside of our membership specifically, but to anybody in general, we can help get that message out there that hospitality is vital to our state identity, vital to our state economy, and it is a place that you can develop lifelong careers if you're so inclined. And we're also going to target internal to our membership to help them figure out how to utilize registered apprenticeship as a viable workforce tool, because there's still some mystery around how businesses can make apprenticeship work for themselves. And I'm hoping that by participating in this panel, the 3 of us can help overcome some of those mysteries. But that's where we're hoping that this messaging can go. Last slide, please. And so we've been able to hire some staff. We're in the process of hiring a third staff member, but we already brought on Lionel. Lionel is going to be focused specifically on our DEIA efforts, our diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So he's going to be engaging with folks like the Department of Corrections and the Bureau of Rehab Services and trying to make those connections to the underutilized labor pools around the state. He's already working closely with adult ed in the English language learner space. So Lionel's off to a great start. This is his first month and he's doing great. And we've got one more position to fill, and I'm conducting interviews right now for a role similar to Lionel's, but focusing specifically on youth. So that person will be engaging with not just high school students, but early college students as well to try to connect with high school level education, 2-year degree level education, all the way up to our 4-year colleges around the state, and work the same way to create those pipelines and get students in front of businesses. And that is my presentation, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, Derek, and welcome, Lionel. We welcome you to our apprenticeship team. Our final panelist is Somerset Career and Technical Center with approximately 325 students and 12 programs in areas such as automotives, CNA, electrical, and welding. Through apprenticeships and other efforts, they are connecting students to high-quality jobs and careers with local Maine employers. I introduce you to David Dorr with Somerset Career and Technical Center.
Good morning. My name is David Dorr, Director of Somerset Career and Tech Center. We're bringing this from a different angle than Derek and Scott because we are a CTE. Our students are high school students, 9 through 12, and what we have here is 12 different programs. The reason why we really wanted to get into this is several years ago, we started our mission statement is empowering each student to succeed. And one of the reasons we say each instead of all is that instead of fitting students into a box, we want to create opportunities for them in the direction that they want to go. And so what we ask them is, what do you want to be? And how do we get you there? And so to do that, we have to create a lot of different opportunities for these students, because it's just not about the 12 programs that we have that you see here, but it's also about the direction that they want to go and how can we make that happen. And so a few years ago, when we started really thinking about career pathways and helping students to come up with their own pathway, one of the things that we were doing, that I did, was if I went somewhere and somebody was doing a job, I would ask, how did you get this job? And a lot of them would say it wasn't about college. They would say, I was working here, they saw that I was a good worker, and so they sent me to the vendors' schools to learn, these pieces of equipment or whatever. And so it helped me to understand that there are so many different ways for students to have a good life, to get a career, and having job experiences was one of those things that we really wanted to pursue. So last year we had the opportunity, JMG, somebody mentioned working with them, great partner of ours as well. And we said, we got a JMG specialist here in the building, and that the goal for us was for them to create this to help us to become an integrated intermediate sponsor for apprenticeships. And that has worked out well. So we have automotive technology, you can say CNA, commercial CDL, all of these programs that are in front of you on the screen also can be seen as a pre-apprenticeship. And so our students are here for 350 hours a year, or 700 hours if it's a 2-year program. And so they come out with a lot of skills. And what we wanted to do was create an opportunity for them not to only get skills, but to gain that experience. So last year, when we became intermediary sponsors, we had 2 students right up front that Sheridan Corporation took an interest in. And so one of them was in our residential construction program, had been there for a couple of years. And we gave them the opportunity to, instead of coming to our residential construction program every other day, the student then went to the job site at Sheridan, got hired at Sheridan. And so he got credit for being with us. He got job experience for being with Sheridan, and then he also got paid. And so it worked out great. And we have actually the background of this slide is us in one of the signings, right? So we made it a big deal. It was like a college signing, and that student signed it. You couldn't wipe the grin off the parents' faces. And we knew that this was a good thing. But after seeing the faces of the apprentice and the parents and the Sheridan Corp, we knew there was something that we really was an opportunity for a lot of students that was going to give them a step up. So what's our next slide? So when we wrote this grant, one of the things that we knew is that we have our programs where it could be pre-apprenticeships, but we serve 5 sending schools. And as an example, Skowhegan Area High School has 700 students. We have 300 out of 5 sending schools. So what happens to the rest of those kids? And we should be asking the same question. What do you want to be and how do we get you there? So we thought, what about a pre-apprenticeship instructor? And so when we got the grant, one of the things that we wanted to do was to bring on a pre-apprenticeship instructor who could then work with students to learn the basic skills. So like financial aid, OSHA 10, those things, good work traits, so that then we could get them into other apprenticeships like plumbing and heating, heavy equipment. You know, if we took somebody from automotive and moved them into a diesel mechanic, that would be about the same thing. Cosmetology we don't have here, and banking. So, you know, it just gives us the students so many more opportunities, and it opens it up to so many more students. And so that was our reasoning behind also creating an apprenticeship instructor position through the grant. I know I'm talking fast, so what's next? So great. So here's a signing. The students have to be hired. So they would be hired by the company. We would come up with a schedule of work, with also a schedule of pay, and they would onboard them, do all the things that they would do with an employee, set them up with a mentor. And we decided to make this a signing, and it's been working out great. I think the benefit of this is it makes it a big deal. When we talk to companies, we say, you know, they'll ask us, what do we get out of it? And I think the common thing is we want our students to have, to continue to be trained. They want good employees. You guys want good employees. So, you know, I think we have a common goal of helping this student to reach their best potential through another pathway other than coming to school. So we think that's very valuable. What do we have next? So this has been a great opportunity for us. We started with the Sheridan Corp, who has been an amazing partner, helped us to get off the ground, helped us to become an intermediary sponsor. But then what we ended up doing was Chinbro's a partner of ours. We don't have a formal partnership with them as far as apprenticeships, but they have an apprenticeship program. And so we're talking with them. We have 2 students at Travers Electric, and that happened with an agreement with us, between us and Associated Builders and Contractors. So Associated Builders and Contractors, because the electrical program, those apprenticeships have to be 8,000 hours. They get 1,000 just for being with us. And so they have to do 7,000 somewhere else, which, you know, if you're working 2,000 hours a year, that's 3.5 years. This gives them an opportunity to then leave us, go into Travers Electric, and then Associated Builders and Contractors is going to follow them through their apprenticeship. We also have a student at Express Electric. We've have an apprenticeship agreement with Scout Weekend Savings. Camden National is where we have talks with them, Reddington Fairview General Hospital, and we signed on with Associated General Contractors. So we have seen a lot of movement with this ability to get students directly into the workforce while still giving them training and experience. What else do I have? Is that it? Great.
That's the end, David. That's the end. Thank you very
I
much.
raced right through that.
That's okay. You had great information, and thank you for sharing that with us. So I want to thank each of our panelists for joining us this morning. Those were great overviews of your apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. For our audience, please type any questions you have in the Q&A box. You may also raise your hand, and Christine will acknowledge your questions. We can see those, and we want to make sure that we address all the interests that you have. So, to our panelists, I would like to kick off our discussion today by asking each of our panelists the first question. What would you say to those that are thinking about starting an apprenticeship program? Go ahead, Dr. Christman.
So, gosh, from a business standpoint, you're probably wondering what the return on investment is. That's what every business is always wondering. What's the ROI? How much is it going to cost me, and what am I to get in return? It can be expensive. And if you look at the BIW model, if you understood what I was saying, we use it as a professional development program. So it's pretty expensive. Now, we don't have to, but we run a college educational component in our program. And I didn't really allude to it before, but some of our apprentices are getting their bachelor's degree or master's degree with us instead of just that associate's degree. So it's expensive to run it that way, but you don't have to. Most people don't, most companies don't do that much education. The simple training that you need, it can be a lot less expensive. So I would strongly encourage it. You could just, continue to do what all small companies or small and medium-sized companies do. And that would be to simply hire my graduates that go through my program and pay them $1 more an hour. All right. It's a lot cheaper for you to just hire apprentice graduates from a large company. Most large companies run apprenticeship programs and they're sponsored, they're registered. We lose 40% of our graduates to small and mid-sized businesses. We're okay with that. We can still absorb the cost. And it being so difficult for you to afford it, I can understand why you would simply do that. So there's two strategies. So one is to look at your ROI and figure out how much training you can afford to give the person. The B is just to hire my, I'm saying that sarcastically, stop hiring my people. But I can't stop that, but it's okay. So that's how I would answer it. Go to the next person.
I think the biggest thing I've encountered along the way is that people oftentimes, especially the smaller businesses out there, feel a little overwhelmed by the concept of creating a program. And so the advice that I would give in that area is try not to become overwhelmed, because you've got access to people like Christine and Wendy who are moderating this today that are subject matter experts on developing this and have networks across the state to help you from ground zero, I have no program at all and don't know what to do, all the way through to a fully completed and developed and approved program. And they can also connect you to the resources to potentially pay for any of the training that does end up in the schedule of work, which is the curriculum that goes along with your apprenticeship. So sometimes that seems scary, but that would be my advice, is to try not to get overwhelmed, lean on the people that are there to help you.
So as a CTE, and the reason why we wanted to become intermediary sponsors, and being an intermediary sponsor, we're able to take that burden off the small businesses. So, we're the ones who get the audits, but what this allows is for the small businesses to have an apprentice, but we're the ones that are overseeing that. And so when we're working with Associated Builders and Contractors, Associated General Contractors, and I think probably you as well, Derek, that you're an intermediary sponsor. And so overseeing those apprentices that go into the hospitality industry. And so what I would say is look for those associations that you're already connected to and see if they can become the intermediary sponsor. I think it would be very helpful. And Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is one of the reasons why we had this grant, was to create more of those opportunities for the smaller business, because we know the bigger businesses can do this.
Outstanding. Those are some great responses. And I want to go back to something Derek said, is the main apprenticeship program is here to help and guide you through this. You don't have to go through it alone. So we are here for that purpose. So thank you to all three of you. Christine, what does our time look like? Do we have time for a second question?
Yeah, we have time for a second, and then I think we'll go to some of the questions that are in the Q&A box.
Perfect. So second question to our panelists. Can you speak to your experience partnering with educational institutions for the classroom training component of apprenticeship?
I guess that's me. I'll go first. Scott Christman with Bath Iron Works. We are partnered with two intermediaries, if you will. One being Maine Maritime Academy. They articulate all of the courses that we teach on we teach ourselves. And we're also partnered with Southern Maine Community College, hire adjunct professors from that institution, and they teach the classes for us. So we've got two college partners, but then there's the Southern Maine Community College apprenticeship program that we are partnered with, where they provide our pre-apprenticeship for us, and they act as an intermediary for that sponsored apprenticeship program. And we had them register that program themselves. So the message that I want to get across is using your intermediary providers is so vital. I'm a member of the American Apprenticeship Roundtable, have been for 20 years. In that, businesses always say, we really wish we didn't have to be the one providing this training. They were always saying, they didn't use the words, they were always saying, we want intermediaries. Okay, they were always saying that because we want to just build our product. We don't want to get in this space. But there are lots, it seems like today, these intermediaries are coming out of the woodwork. So we applaud that tremendously. So I've had great experience working with my intermediaries. They want to bend over backwards for us. So as a business, we love it. We love what we're seeing. Next.
I can build off of what Scott said as well. There are a lot of different educational institutions out there, from the high-end university all the way down to individualized trainers in a specific space. And it can be a little daunting sometimes to choose who would be the best training provider for your curriculum, depending on what kind of program you're building. For example, in our 10 occupational programs that we have, we span the whole gamut, from utilizing the community colleges to universities to some of our national associations training, and they all kind of build together to create that educational component. So the training is out there. Sometimes the scary part is how a business envisions covering that cost. And there's a lot of funding available out there right now to assist in covering those costs. And the Department of Labor is one of those no wrong door entry points that can help direct behind the scenes where some of the funding can come from to help cover that cost. So you don't necessarily have to always view it as the company will cover that cost. You don't have to try to strategize, how can we make the apprentice cover the cost? A lot of times there's opportunity to have the cost covered behind the scenes.
Well, we are a training facility, so our role is to try to make those connections with our partners so that students can get out there and get that experience. So of being in the office. So that's our role, and we're really looking for more partners to move our students into those experiences.
David, if I may ask a follow-up question to that, please. Some employers may be hesitant to hire high school students or recent graduates. Can you speak to your experience to this with your current employers?
That's a great question, because when I talk about Sheridan Corp, right, and we got those 2 students in there right off. The good part was, I mean, I don't think there was a bad part, is that there was a gap between the age of the people working there and the students coming out of the high schools or out of the CTE. They come out with experience anyway, so they're with us for 700 hours if it's a 2-year experience, and so they already have the safety background, they already have the knowledge, and what they need is the experience. And when we put those students into the field, the feedback we got was they're great workers, they're there all the time, they're eager to learn, and from the mentors, it was like, now I have somebody to share all my skill and knowledge, because I know I'm reaching the end of my window. So to see that partnership happening and everybody's excited, the student, the older worker, the mentor, it's been huge. And so I was in the Air Force, right? And we had students that, well, I would say 18 and 19-year-olds that were crew chiefs on multi-million-dollar aircrafts. And then when now when I'm in education and kids need to be walked out to their cars, I'm thinking, like, really, these kids can do these skills. And one of the things that we could do as CTE is try to convince them that those students, even if they're 17 years old, are a good catch, right? So Sheridan sees this as an opportunity to recruit students, to train them, to get them into the environment that they need to, and get them trained the way that they want them. And so they're looking this as a great opportunity for recruitment as well. And then they get kids that already know what they're doing before they even walk out our door.
I love that. Having a career and technical education background, I love that from our future, working with those kids. I think we're going to change gears here a little bit and go to our Q&A to get some of your questions answered. So I'm going to turn this over to Christine, and she's going to address those questions for you.
All right, so we've had a few questions come in, and it looks like a few of those are specific to Scott. So Scott, I'll start with your questions. The first one is if Bath Iron Works and Southern Maine Community College offer any housing during the 3 weeks of schooling at the SMCC campus. And a follow-up to that is who funds the $500 stipend?
Let me see. I really don't know how the stipend works. That's a SMCC thing, and I'm sorry, I'm not as familiar with that. To have to get more details on that. But housing wise, yes, Southern Maine Community College is tied into their workforce end is tied into all of the support services. And for that 3-week training program, their dorms are open on the Brunswick campus for students to stay at for free. And they do, this goes back to the intermediaries. They're so good at getting funding, and I'm not quite sure how Southern Maine funds the $500 or the housing, but they've got their ways like intermediaries do. And I'm so thankful that I don't have to worry about it. We just get the product at the end. So sorry, I'm not much help in that with that question.
Thank you,
But the
Scott.
free housing's there.
That's great to know. And then the second question that came up is, do individuals that complete the one-year program through Southern Maine Community College have any advantage when they apply for one of Bath Iron Works apprentice school programs later on?
A great question. Yes, that's what we're looking at for it to be. Not only is the 3-week training program a pre-apprenticeship and it's a pre-apprenticeship prior to the apprenticeship, but once they get into that 1-year SMCC apprenticeship, they're adding value to their resume, if you will, every day. So they look once you're inside the company, you look real attractive to us. Very, very low risk coming into the program. So yes, very big precursor.
Thank you, and great question. The next question, a few of you mentioned partnering with JMG, and I know we all love our acronyms, but the question is, what is JMG? And I don't know, David, if you're the best position to answer what it is and how they partner with others.
So it's a great organization, and they really focus on a lot of students with who are economically disadvantaged, but also helping them to be successful. And so it started off as a lot of classroom stuff so that they learn their traits, but now with JMG just partnering with a lot of different people, they gave us a specialist, so now they're into the CTEs, they're doing middle schools programs. They've got people in community colleges to help students through those. And they have actually, if people stop out of colleges, they have somebody that can help them get back in. So they are really working hard with developing the workforce. And it stands for Jobs for Maine Graduates, but I think they recently just dropped the name and is going with JMG now.
Thank you, David. All right, the next question isn't for anyone in particular, so I'll go ahead and read it and see who would like to respond. The question is, hey, how's it going? The questioner and Marissa, so Pietro and Marissa, who is also in the webinar, they are owners of White and Bradstreet Inc. in Augusta, Maine. They do new and used heavy truck parts, as well as rebuild diesel engines, transmission, as well as differentials for heavy duty trucks. They are looking to start an apprenticeship program for rebuilding this side of the business. What is the best way to set up an apprenticeship program for these positions?
One thing that I would say is that we not only got a JMG specialist, but Capital Area Technical Center also got a JMG specialist and is working on this as well. And so I would reach out to Capital Area Technical Center and see how you can partner with them.
Derek, did you want to add?
I would also say if you connect with the Department of Labor office about apprenticeship and bring that idea to them, they can help facilitate that conversation to create the pipeline with you so that you don't have to feel like you've got to create this on your own.
And I want to thank you for that, Derek. And I was just going to say as well, if you contact me directly, I can help you with that. I do the transportation sector, so I would be more than glad to help you walk through that process.
All right, so it looks like we have one more question in the chat. So if you have other questions, we still have a few minutes. Please feel free to raise your hand or post them. So our final question, this is for Scott and maybe others as well. Since you have some folks who are taking classes to earn a bachelor's or master's, do you have any experiences working with foreign trained professionals and supporting them through receiving licensure?
Yeah, it's a requirement to be eligible to work in the U.S. For our company, for the defense contractor. So we're a little bit stricter than other companies in that respect, but we have had dual citizens come in and citizens from other countries. I had a young man just hired recently from Australia, and but when he landed on U.S. soil 4 years ago, he did join the U.S. Army, and so he had dual citizenship. So I don't know if that helps any. Boy, we are a little stricter than other companies in that vein, but we do have people with dual citizenship. Does that kind of answer it?
We're at Hospitality Maine trying to link up with some of the folks that are already helping those different populations. So like adult ed and their English language learning or industry focused English language learning, not necessarily in the sense of helping them get equivalency for their education that they may have received overseas, or for getting that equivalency to equate to a US licensure, but definitely in the sense of how can we help them get a meaningful job in the industry that's going to potentially lead somewhere.
Thank you both. And I think, Haley, that's a great question. And it will depend on the industry in terms of, licensure. So there are a lot of caveats to that question, but there are a lot of resources in Maine that are available. One of the things I posted in the chat, and we'll pull up on the screen in a few minutes, is a link to our apprenticeship email inbox. So any apprenticeship questions, anything like this, please feel free to email those. And then one of our roles is to help connect you with the right individuals. So not only set up apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeship programs, but also connect you to the right Department of Labor resources or other resources that may be available in the state.
Did we have any further questions? You see anything further in the questions, Christine?
Nope. I just Richard Steers has replied to a couple and given his cell phone number for those that are interested to find out some more information or to follow up.
Okay, great. Well, we have a couple of more minutes left, and I have a couple of questions I want to address to the panelists, if I may. So to Derek, Hospitality Maine. When you started your apprenticeship program, you started with a line cook apprenticeship. Now you offer 10 occupations. Can you speak to how and why you have expanded?
So originally when I came on, we had 2 entry-level positions, and to the job seeker and to the employers that we represent, that didn't quite seem to fit what people were looking for. They wanted to be able to pull people into the industry, keep them on an upward path. The job seekers that were looking to potentially utilize these programs wanted to see that it led somewhere, not just that I'm going to become a line cook and then what. So one of the first goals that we had was to try to figure out what is the career progression going to look like and how can we get there. So luckily our national associations have already been trying to tackle this model as well. And they had some programs that kind of outlined exactly what I showed earlier. They had progressive steps all the way up to managerial level. So at a business that would have that kind of capacity where they had openings at those various stages, and like everybody, they're struggling to fill those roles. If they wanted to hire somebody from within and train them up from within, then they could bounce from one level to the next all the way through. And in a perfect world, when you're training somebody up and they move into that new role, it creates a vacuum at that entry level position that you can then hire the next person who will come in and be mentored by the person that just went through that program. So ideally that creates kind of a flow. And then when that business hits capacity, hopefully there's other opportunities throughout the association for business members to see that, hey, that actually kind of worked. Can we do that too? And then propagate it across the other members that are interested.
But what you're doing seems to work, that's for sure. So we thank you for that. Okay, a last question. This is for Dr. Crispin, please. You have run your apprenticeship program for over 50 years at Bath Iron Works. What inspired you to start the pre-apprenticeship program with Southern Maine Community College?
Well, it's satisfying a bigger need that we have for our trades. We're out, having that, it's a lot less expensive when an intermediary is involved and provides this training. And it also opens the door for a whole lot more apprentices. I've probably got 200 apprentices, that are over in the SMCC program. Whereas in my program internally to the company, it's more of a PDP, less than, probably we're at 80 truthfully today. So I'm able to hit larger numbers, and it's just a whole lot less expensive tapping into an intermediary.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think Christina is sharing her screen again, and that leaves you with some program information as we wrap up our presentation. We want to thank you again for joining us in today's session. If you want to learn more about the apprenticeship program, please email us at mainapprenticeship@maine.gov. I promise there's someone on the other end to respond to your messages. If there's anything we can do for you, we look forward to your partnership.